This is Anne. I'm going to be speaking about the coping strategies or the patterns of the inner child. These may be familiar to you, but if they're not, I'm going to focus on three that are especially important. There are variations on the patterns as well as many other patterns. The important thing to remember is that what you have every day, the scripts that you run, how you see things, what you say, how you react, the people and situations in your life come from these scripts. So the more trauma, the more child parts that are there, they keep you stuck because they create these scripts. So if you want to change, you need to recognize these patterns, as many as you can. See them and say, all right, that's a sign of the inner child. I need to connect with her. And the last video was about the different ways you could connect. But as I said, the most powerful way of reaching and healing your inner child is the capacity to tap into your subconscious, the power of your subconscious, which I'll probably do in the next video. So I will focus on three patterns today. First is people pleasing. This is the tendency that we have in one subtle form or another to make sure you don't upset people. In fact, that you get their approval. More deeply, that you get their love. So you're on good behavior to ensure that you attain what it is these patterns are meant to fulfill, seek, find. So people pleasers are very attentive to the needs of people around them. I know this. I didn't recognize it when I saw this about myself, that it was an aspect of people pleasing, but I know people's needs even before they ask for it, which is wonderful in terms of being a therapist. But in terms of my personal life and family and relationship, it puts me at a disadvantage because people pleasing has this priority. Others are more important than you. So you're constantly paying attention to and trying to fulfill the needs of others, which means there is no time or energy to pay attention to yourself, leaving you exhausted, at least at the end of the day, if not sooner. Another aspect um, of people pleasing is the hidden message that when you put yourself last, you're saying you're not important, which shores up the core belief of not being good enough, not being deserving, not being important, worthy. The second coping strategy that I want to discuss is perfectionism. Again, you might not think of yourself as a perfectionist, but perfectionism is the sense of I have to do better. I'm not good enough, core wound. I have to do not only better, I have to keep on improving. This creates stress. For example, I coughed, and I have coughed in other videos. I could say, that's a mistake. I need to do it over again. And since I can't control the cough, I may have to record or edit over and over again creating so much effort and yet consuming so much time that when I finally produce one without a cough, I'd be exhausted and hating the whole process of doing this. So you may not realize it, but you can feel a pressure that you may not call perfectionism, but it's a pressure to push and push yourself. It's kind of like a runner. You have a certain personal best, but if you're a devoted, dedicated, ambitious, competitive runner, you're always pushing to go beyond your personal best. That's the feeling of a perfectionist, whether you name yourself one or not. The disadvantage is not only how exhausting it is, but the sense of pressure is stress on your body, on your emotional, and everything about you. It takes so much energy that you may not have time to devote energy to other things, hobbies, times with friends, and so forth. Because even in your times with friends, if you're a perfectionist, you'd be watching how well you may have said things or how well somebody else is. Because perfectionism also comes with the inner critical voice that is always judging you, evaluating. And because it's working, it works for others, on others as well. So you're never at a place of being compassionate and appreciative of people because the negative voice is eating at that positive regard. So having a perfectionist has this advantage. And another one, in some ways most important, is you're never satisfied with your results. So if you have to turn in an assignment or a project on the job, you hand it over because you have to, but you think of all the things you could do to improve it. You don't appreciate the effort and the product of what you've done. And even when whatever you do comes with an award or a reward of some kind, notice whether you can take it in, or the perfectionist part of you saying, it's not perfect. I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. And so all that is positive about your accomplishments can never be taken in. So you're stuck in the same place as you were in childhood, never feeling appreciated and seen because you can't allow that to happen. A third one is what I call super self-reliant. And this comes from the childhood wound of feeling alone. Because you feel alone, you look around, the child looks around, there's no one else to rely on. You're the only one there. So you have to depend on yourself from that moment on, despite people who may be around, who may be kind and offering help. You have this commitment. I'm doing it myself because that was your experience. You counted on your parent to be there at a crucial time that he or she wasn't. And so you're not going to trust anymore. So that's another component of a coping strategy, not trusting in people. How this shows up at work is that, or even in school, I have a granddaughter who detests working on teams because, being perfectionist, she knows that she can't trust anyone to do as good a job as she, and because she'll be responsible, she'll take it all on to make sure that all the pieces are as good as she needs them to be. She can't trust that the work of others is good enough. Do you ever ask for help? Especially when you had so much to do. Do you say, hey, I need a hand? If you rarely or never ask for help, it's a sign of self-reliance. And the disadvantage is one, you don't get to work in teams and appreciate the community, the collaboration, the support that happens in a group. Two, you can get so much done when you rely on others. Three, it's much more comfortable to live being able to trust others, to rely on others, and not be super independent. So those are three coping strategies connected to core wounds and connected to any exhaustion, any stress they experience. I think in other spheres, you get the idea that stress is destructive to your body. So if you run coping strategies, eating at your energy this way, it shows up in back pain, in autoimmune diseases, in many kinds of physical symptoms. So those are three. What are others? Emotional avoidance, conflict avoidance. I should have had a list here that will remind me what they are. Of course, trust issues are there. I will produce a video, maybe the next one, where I will list all kinds of beliefs that I haven't discussed and all kinds of strategies that don't come to mind right now, so that you can review and see and detect which ones you might see as signs of your inner child. All right. The overall scope of this was to talk about a sign of the inner child and how the inner child wants you to survive, and have created these coping strategies to make you survive. But they're survival. They're not about thriving. And if you want to move ahead from where you are right now, you need to pay attention to the signals of the inner child and learn to connect, nurture, and heal. And the best way is connecting to the subconscious.